So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we'll continue the inverse relation and the function. And before we start, we need just to revise what is the meaning of the function, the meaning of the inverse, how we know that the function has inverse or not. The inverse will be a function or not, that's my question. So we'll start with the first point. What is the meaning of the function?
For every x, for every y, no wait, for every
for every value of
for every x value,
y.
there's only one answer of y. Yeah.
That's the function for each value of x. There is only one answer of y. I need the definition. Now you are in grade 12, so when I ask you about the definition, at least give me the definition with 90%, 80%, not 50%.
For every value of x, there's exactly one value of y.
For each value, okay. So the function at the first, the function is a relation between two sets, x and y. For each value of the domain, which is x, there is exactly value for only one image at y. For each value of x, there is exactly one image at y. So for each function, we can find its inverse, but the inverse will be a function or not, that's my question. How we know that the inverse will be
horizontal line test?
The horizontal line test. From the horizontal line test, if the function is one-to-one function, so the inverse will be a function. If the function is not one-to-one function, so the inverse will not be a function. So we can continue. As we said before, for the function and its inverse, the domain for the first one will be the range for the second. And the range of the first one will be the domain of the second one. So we finished, we solved number 5 and number 6, but we didn't complete 7, 8, and 9. So we need to find the inverse of the function f of x equals negative 16 plus x to the power 3.
First,
First replace f of x with y.
F of x with
Number
y,
1, we need to find the domain.
Okay, I will do that.
So what is the domain for this one?
Domain is R.
Domain
is R.
is R. The range?
Range is R.
Why R? Why the domain is R for the first one? Why the domain is R?
Because
there is no.
There's a value for every x.
How you know that?
Because power 3 really dominates there, so anything subtracting from it won't even matter. So
because this function is a polynomial. This function is polynomial function.
It's not a fraction or a square root.
This function, the answer is this function is polynomial function. The domain for any polynomial function is R. That is the reason. That is the answer. That is the exact answer for this one. So what is the range? Range.
it also be R.
Why R?
That's one.
What is the range and why it's R? The range is R? Okay. Why R?
because we have power 3, so even if it's
because there's no value which makes the
One part goes up
0.
and then one part goes down.
This one, the end behavior of the function. The function. When x tends to for the parent function for the cubic function, one side must be go down and the other end behavior must be going up. Whatever the first one will be or the second one, it's depend on the reflection. But the normal graph for the cubic function, it starts from down and going up. So whatever the graph, you will find that one of them must be going down and the other side is going up. So for any odd function, any function with odd power, so one side must be going down and the other side will going up. So the range for this one will be R. After finding the domain and range, we need to find the inverse. So how we find it?
Replace x with y.
So at the first, I will replace f of x with y. So y equals negative 16 plus x to the power 3, the second step.
Replace y with
X
x.
equals negative 16
X
plus y cubed.
equals negative 16 plus y cubed.
Solve for y.
Solve
So
for
x,
y, so y to the power 3 equals
is equal
x
to x
plus 16. Then
103 cube integers.
y equals the cubic root
Cube.
of
X plus 16.
x plus 16. What is the domain for this one?
It's not a polynomial function, so
It's R,
And what is the range?
not including negative 16. It's R not including negative 16.
So it means your answer now is wrong.
No, it's R. Both domain and ranges are.
Why the domain and range is R?
because it's an inverse
Because,
function, it's just the domain becomes the range and the range becomes the domain.
Yeah.
No, that's the reason. If you have a function y equals the cubic root of x, what is the domain for this function?
R.
Why R?
Because it's cube outside, so even we can accept negative values inside.
Yes, that's the point. That's the point. Because now you have a power 3. Any odd power you can find. Any odd, not negative, not even. If that's squared by the fourth root, the sixth root, that is the concept that I need you to understand this one. If the power here for the root is even, so I need only 0 and positive numbers. Non-negative number must be inside the square root or inside the root with has nth even number. So the number inside must be non-negative number. But because now we have the nth root here is odd number, so you can find the cubic root of a negative number. The cubic root of negative 8 equals negative 2. You can find it, but you can't find the square root of negative 4. That's not one of the real number, not belongs to the real number. So, but for this one, you can find it. And you can find the cubic root of 0. And you can find the cubic root of any positive number. So you can use all of the values instead of x. And you can find also the range also will be, because you can use the negative and the answer will be negative. 0, the answer will be 0. Positive, the answer will be positive. It means the range, all of the answers that you will find the positive, negative, fraction, rational, and irrational. So the range also will be R. So how the graph would be look like if you remember this one? You remember the graph, how the graph for the cubic function? The square root, if I start with y equals the square root of x, how the graph would be look like?
It will be going towards the positive side.
Yes. It's starting from the origin, that's the parent form, the parent function. Yeah. It's starting from, it's half parabola, but the parabola instead of u is open upward, it will be open to the right. So it's inverse, that's this side. So that is the square root. What is the graph of the y equals the cubic root of x? The cubic root. What?
So it'll look like the parent function, but sideways.
Sorry,
it looks like,
again,
like the square root, but it goes,
just 1 minute, just 1 minute.
It looks like the parent function, but sideways.
Yeah,
look
that'll
like
be
what?
The parent
looks
function,
like the square
but
root.
sideways.
Wallahi, there's two is talking. I can't hear. There's two. Only I need just one. Who will speak?
Okay.
No problem, huh? I need just one.
It looks like y equals x to the power of 3, but sideways.
But 2x, okay. So you will find that the graph will be by this way.
Yes, it's like the square root but reflected on the origin.
Yes, you will find that there is a reflection across the line y equals x. So that's the inverse of each one, of any function. Any problem for this one?
No.
Okay, so how we can solve number 8? We need to solve 8. And the first, what is the domain for this one?
All x values except
R except 0.
Domain will be R different the set of 0 and the range?
R. It's R.
R?
Yeah.
Why R? How we find the domain and how we find the range, if you remember this one. How you know that the domain, step by step, we will solve it. The domain is R, okay, R difference 0, yes. How we know this one?
Because
whatever the answer is, right or wrong, no problem. Sorry?
Because
The denominator
all
cannot
the
be
Power, the numerator and denominator is the same.
حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل. حسبي الله
because
ونعم
all so the domain, the expression is greater than the expression is not equal to 0.
Yes, the denominator is not equal to 0. So just look at the denominator. The denominator x is not equal to 0. So I will accept all of the number, all of the answers are accepted, except the number which makes the denominator is equal to 0. So this number will be 0. Okay, because we have only x. Now that's defined by the vertical line of asymptote. If you remember this one, we have two lines, the vertical line and the horizontal line. The vertical line of asymptote, we find, from the vertical line, we find the domain. But from the horizontal line, we find the range. From the horizontal line, we find the range. So that's from the vertical line, x equals 0. That's the vertical line of asymptote. Can we find the horizontal line of asymptote for this one?
W1.
Is equals to 1. Y equals 1. How we know that's 1?
Because the coefficient of x and...
Not the coefficient, not the coefficient. Huh? Not the coefficient.
But the power.
The power.
Yeah.
The power, yes. You understand it?
Yeah, the powers are the same, then the coefficient.
The power, not the coefficient. Because the power are the same. Because the power are the same, so just 1 minute. X plus 7.
Range is R but -1.
Yes. Look at the graph.
Or 1.
We just opened the graph now. Just 1 minute. That you can see. Can you see this graph now for this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You will find that what we will find? You will find, if I go closer than this one, you will find that we have a vertical line of asymptote. The graph is asymptote to the line y equals 0. Sorry, x equals 0. Okay. But if you look at the horizontal line, you will find that it will be close to be 1. We increase it. You will find that the line of asymptote, the horizontal line of asymptote is 1. That is the horizontal line. You understand this one? How we know the horizontal line of asymptote? From the coefficient. How we know that from the coefficient? Because the degree. Number 1, the degree of the numerator is equal to the degree of denominator. It's mean now a of x is equal to b of x. The 2 degrees are equal. So just look at the coefficient. The coefficient that we have now, which is 1. The coefficient that we have now, which is 1. So y equals 1 over 1, which equals 1. So the range now would be all of the values except 1. Now we need to find the inverse. So before solving and finding the inverse, we need to find, at the first, we need to find the domain and range. Because if there is any exception for the answer, you have to know it. How we solve this one?
So we're going to replace x with y.
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 So y
is equal to x plus 7.
X plus 7
over
x. So
switch x with y.
Equals y plus 7 over y. Then?
Yeah. And then y goes on the other side and x goes down. Wait, no.
X, y equals y plus 7. Just shift y because of the division, so it will be going up by multiplication. You understand this step?
Yeah.
Only shifting y from down to up by multiplication. At this point, it's clear? So
bring xy on the other side and factor out y.
Yes, so it will be xy minus y equals 7. Then
y
as a common factor, so x minus 1 equals 7.
Y equals to 7 over x minus 1.
Y equals 7 over x minus 1. So f inverse of x is equals
negative
7 over x minus 1. Look at the domain for this one. Domain.
All values of R.
All values except 1.
1.
And what about the range?
All values except 0.
Why all values except 0? Because the degree of a of x is smaller than the degree of b of x. We said if the numerator, the degree of numerator is smaller than the degree of denominator, so all of the values are accepted. There is only one line of asymptote, horizontal line of asymptote at y equals 0. Again, for this one, if a of x degree is smaller than b of x, there is only one line of asymptote, the horizontal line of asymptote, which is y equals 0. So you will accept all of the values except 0. Any problem for this one? At this point, is clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So we need to solve question number 9. How are we going to solve number 9? The first step that we need to find
Domain.
Okay, what is the domain for this one?
Domain is
R except 20.
Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
Square root of 20.
Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel.
Greater than equal to.
It has to be more than
greater
equal to 0.
20.
Yes, Shafi'i. Continue, Shafi'i. So x square minus 20 is greater than
or equal
or
to
equal
0.
to 0 then?
X is greater than or equal to 2.
Yes. How we can find this one? Without x is greater than or equal to. What is the graph of
Negative
this one?
infinity to 20 close.
X is greater than or equal to square root of 20.
There is one stroke and there is a lot of noise beside one. So if there is any noise beside you, please switch off the mic.
The domain cannot be minus root 20 and positive root 20, except that all the values can be accepted.
No. How the graph for this one will be
equal to root 20.
How we can graph this one? What is the meaning of this graph? X power 2 minus 20. I need
It's
the
all
graph
positive.
of y. Just 1 minute. Y equals, I need the graph for this function. Y equals x power 2 minus 20. To understand this one, please. What is the graph for this function? What is the type of this function? Leave the inequality. Forget the inequality. There is no inequality. Forget the inequality now. Look at the equation y equals x power 2 minus 20. What is the type of this graph?
Quadratic.
Parabola. Which parabola? What is the translation? What is the type of the translation of this parabola?
Along the y-axis.
Along the y-axis, 20 units down.
Down.
So that is the graph for the parabola.
Yeah.
The vertex will be at negative 20. Any problem for this one?
No.
Okay, you need the graph to be is greater than or equal to 0. What is the meaning of greater than or equal to 0? It's mean you need the part which is above the x-axis.
Yes.
Above the x-axis. At which part above the x-axis? This part. So the domain now will be only this one. Is that right? Because all of this value, the orange one, for x, it's give you a number more than 0. 0 or more. So what is the point of intersection now for the parabola and the x-axis? What is this point?
Negative.
That is the negative root 20 and
Negative
positive
root 20 and positive root 20. It's mean now I need only this part, the orange part. So the domain for this one, what is the domain?
From negative infinity to negative root 20 and
Yes. The domain, you can write it in 2 ways. Domain.
X is not equal.
You can write it as from negative infinity to negative root 20, and this one open, and that one will be closed. And union. From
To negative 20
to
positive.
Infinity, or we can write it as,
Or it can be
all number except the set of negative root 20, the interval, and root 20. Any number between negative root 20 and the positive root 20 will be, we will not accept it, but accept all of the number. What is the range for this one? What is the range for this one? What is the range of this graph?
more than negative 20.
More than or equal? Because
more than
negative 20 is counted, is included at the graph. So y is greater than or equal to negative 20. Any problem for this one?
No.
Okay, now we need to find the inverse. How are we going to find the inverse? Sorry?
It's switch f of x with y.
Yes, y equals the square root of x to the power 2 minus 20 and
then switch all the x's with y's.
yes, y equals y to the power 2 minus 20 then
Solve for y.
solve for y, so it will be how we solve for y for this one.
You get rid of the root.
So you shift it to the other side, how it will be
so then it's x squared
1 over 2
equal
power 2.
Yeah.
You have the square root to shift it to the other side, it would be power. So y power 2 is equals y power 2 minus 20 is equals to x to the power 2. Then
So can you do the last step again?
Which one?
The last one. Right now, you just
this one?
Yeah.
If you have x minus 2 plus 5, how you solve this one? X minus 2 plus 5. Just look at this one. Leave the question. If you need to understand step by step with me, please. X minus 2 plus 5 how equals 5. How you solve this one?
X equals 5.
Just blend.
Okay.
X minus 2 equals 5. You move 5 to the other side. Then you move x to the other side.
I need to solve this one. How you solve this one? X minus 2 equals 5. Solving equation. X minus 2 equals 5. How you solve this one?
You move x to you move negative 2 to the other side.
So it will be,
and then it becomes 7.
How 7? How are you moving 2 to the other side? So it will be
no, because minus 2
will be
plus 2.
Plus 2. So because that's minus, so to solve it you will use plus. If I have x plus 2 equals 5, how you solve this one?
It will become minus.
Minus 2. So if you have 2x equals 5, how you solve it?
2x equals you.
2x. What is the meaning of 2x? 2x.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah. He did it.
No, he definitely cheated.
How we solve this one? How we solve this one?
I want to know who actually used.
Type. If you want to answer.
I did them.
They weren't hard, okay, but it takes time. It doesn't take that fast.
Yeah. I was like 7th, bro. I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
It takes like at least like 1 hour, maybe like 30 seconds.
Where were you guys ranked? Like on the whatever the fuck that was.
Have you finished? Type. Measured. Hassan. And right. Now we're going to start. So how you solve this one? Because you have a square root, the inverse operation of the square root, which is power. So it will be y power 2 minus 20 equals x to the power x power 2. Now how we continue solving this one? Who was solving with me? Hussein?
Squared plus 20.
So y squared equals to x squared plus 20 then?
And then under root, just square root.
No, not under root. Positive or negative. Positive or negative.
Okay.
The square root of. You know why positive or negative?
Yeah, sir. When do we put?
Because it's a variable.
Because you have power 2. If you have any even power and you need to shift it to the other side, it will be positive or negative, the root, the nth root. If that's power 2, so it will be square root. Power 4, so it will be the 4th root. Power 6, it will be positive or negative. Any odd power, keep the same sign. Keep the same sign. If that's positive, it will be positive, negative will be negative. But if you have even power, it must be shifted positive or negative.
Okay.
So x squared plus 20. You know how the graph for this one would be look like? That's a problem.
It's going to be parabolic, shifted to the negative side.
Yes, but from positive 20, from positive, sorry, from negative
20 to the left.
Yes, from negative 20, then going to the right.
Yeah.
Going to the right. And you have two sides. It will be by this way. Okay? So this part is positive, and this part will be the negative part. So the domain now will be domain
x more than n equals to negative.
If you remember the graph, when I graph this one,
this not a function?
Yes, it's not function. It's not function. The graph now is not function because now we have a horizontal line. But just find the inverse. I didn't say that to the inverse. I stop at this point. If you can see now, I stop at y equals. The inverse is not function because this function is not one-to-one function. If you draw the horizontal line of asymptote, it will intersect the curve at two horizontal points. So it will be the inverse is not function. You understand it? But just find the inverse. How we can find the inverse for this one? The domain now would be
x more than equal to
x more than, because you start from negative 20. How we know that's from negative 20? Because inside the square root, anything inside the bracket, we use the inverse with x. It's effect x with the inverse sign. So we're just shifting 20 units to the left. And because it's power 2, so it will be parabola. But because now for this one, how we can, you understand this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Kind of, yes.
Okay. So now the second point. How without using the graph, without solving, how we know that the function, if you have two functions, f of x and g of x, both of them are inverse to each other by using the composition of the function. If you find that f o g of x is equals x and g o f of x, after simplifying, after finding the composite function, and the answer is x, so it means f and g are inverse to each other. Again, this one, suppose that we have the function f of x.
Do you have to do it twice, or can you just say f
just
into g?
Just one time.
Okay.
Which one is easy for you? Khalas, just one time is enough.
Okay.
Okay. If I have the function f of x equals x plus 5, and I have the function g of x equals x minus 5, can we say that both of them are inverse to each other? We need to check. Just all what I have to do, just one of the two ways, f o g or g composite f. Anyone, as you want, no problem for them. Alas, anyone. If you find that f o g of x is equals
x minus 5 plus 5.
So it will be, I will just use f of g of x. What is g of x? G of x equals x minus 5. So I will replace x with x minus 5. So it will be x minus 5 plus 5. So we can cancel negative 5 and a positive 5. So the answer now will be x. If you use g o f, it means we need to use the function g by finding the value of g by using the function f of x. So how we can find it? That's f of x. I will replace it here. So it will be yes. So x plus 5 minus 5. So you can cancel negative 5 and the positive 5. So the answer now will be x. You will find that same answer here. You will find the same answer. So if you find that after finding the composition of the two functions equals x, it means both of them are inverse to each other. You understand it? Both of them are inverse to each other. So for this question, we need to find if f of x, this question, the question number 10, we need to check if f of x and g of x are inverse to each other or not. So all what you have to do just to find f o g, f composite g, or g o f. So FOG of x. How we find it? By finding f of g of x. If you need to find g composite f, no problem. Which one that you need to solve? FOG or GOF?
FOG.
You will find the same answer.
Yeah,
Check for the both of them and find the same answer. Okay? So it's not compulsory to find FOG. Halas? You can find GOF. So I would just replace here x with
6 over x
6
plus
over
4.
x plus 4. So it will be 6 over x plus 4 minus 4. You understand this point or not? You understand? You get this one? I just replace x. This one, I just removing x and replace it with 6 over x plus 4. Just replace this one here. Any problem for this one? Now we need to solve.
That would be x.
Cancel x, cancel x. So the function now we have, which is
x
6 over x. The denominator of the denominator will going up to the numerator. So it will be the function f g of x is equals 6x over 6. Cancel 6 and 6. So you will find that f o g of x, the simplest form will be x. That's mean.
Wait, Mr. I didn't understand.
That's the division, normal division.
No,
6
for the 6
over
for the
6
over
over x. You have a formula which is the denominator of the denominator becomes numerator. If you have 6 over x over 6, the denominator of numerator you can write. For the fraction, the numerator must be integer and the denominator must be integer. If you have any fraction, that is the way now. If you have a denominator now for this fraction, that's called complex fraction. So you have now a fraction of a fraction. You understand this one?
Yeah.
So look at the denominator. If the denominator is up, put it down. If the denominator is down,
put it up.
Put it up. So suppose that we have 5 over x over 6 over y. How we can solve this one? We have here a fraction. Take the x from the denominator and put it down. You have here a fraction. Take y and put it up. So the answer now would be 5y over 6x.
6x. Yeah. Okay.
You understand this one?
Sir, do we also find golf?
I said, wallahi lazim. I said, if you want to find FOG, you will find that the answer is x. If you find GOF, I said, from before solving, you need to find which one of them. I said, which one that you need to find it. If you need to find FOG, you will find x. If you find GOF, you will find also x. If you need me to check this one, no problem.
When you find that it's, when you find that either
enough.
one of them is x.
Yes, just one is enough. Just one is enough.
Then then if it
but sir, how do we know that the other one is also x?
Just 1 minute. Again, please.
How do we know the other one is also x?
Check the other one.
Yeah, then we have to check the other one, right?
But one is enough to find. One is enough.
And then if it, so if the answer is FOG of x equals x, that means it's an inverse function, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. If you need to find GOF of x, so I will use f of x. What is the value of f of x? Which is 6 over x minus 6. I'll just replace here 6 x with 6 over x minus 4. So the new function now will be 6 over 6. At the denominator, it will be x minus 4. Now plus 4. Any problem for this one?
No.
Now we have a denominator. The denominator is a fraction. Just we take x minus 4 and put up here. So it will be 6 times x minus 4 over 6 and plus 4 outside. Cancel 6 and 6. So now we have x minus 4 plus 4. Cancel negative 4 and a positive 4. You will find that the answer will be x. You will find the same answer. So one of them is enough. Which one is easy for you? You can use it. We can go back to the previous one, just 1 minute.
So if the answer was any other value than
It's
x,
not
then we
even
would have to
2x,
find-
negative x, x power 2, 2x, 3x, any other expression is not inverse. I need only the answer to be x, 1x. خلاص? You can check for suppose that number 7. Number 7, what is the function that we have? We have negative 16 plus x to the power 3. Just 1 minute to write it. So we have here a new document. Okay. The first function that we have, which is y equal negative 16. Sorry, that's not y. Make it 5 f of x. Negative 16 plus x to the power 3. And g of x is equals the cubic root of x plus 16. That's right. We need to check if both of them are inverse or not. We find that is the given function, and we say that is the inverse. Ya shabab, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have f of x, and that is g of x. We need to check if our answer is right or not. The question that we have now gives us f of x, and we need to find the inverse. And we said that is the inverse. If you need to check if your answer is right or wrong, just by using FOG or GOF. Which one that you need to find?
FOG.
FOG of x. It means find f of the function g of x. So all what you have to do, f of, what is the function? The cubic root of x plus 16. So all what you have to do at this function, just removing x, and replace it with the cubic root. So it will be negative 16 plus the cubic root of x plus 16 all to the power 3. Because you have power 3, so power 3 will cancel the cubic root. So it will be negative 16 plus x plus 16. Positive 16 and negative 16 cancel, so the answer now will be x. If you need to find G O F, you will find the same answer. Any problem for this one?
So we just do it with the inverse, yani?
Yes. Just one.
Okay.
Any problem for this one?
No.
Okay. Can you solve number 11, please, and send it to me? Solve number 11 and send it to me. Again, please. I will explain just small parts, small points here. If you remember when we are explaining the inverse, how we find the inverse? What is the first step?
Find FOG.
لا والله حصل.
Like you mean
when I say find the inverse, that is the question.
Switch f
remove
of x
this one.
for y.
Yeah.
Remove this one.
Y
Find
X.
f inverse.
Switch f of x with y.
Replace X with Y.
Wallahi, I didn't say that.
That would be horizontal test.
Replace X with Y.
No.
Horizontal
Replace
test.
f of x with y.
No. There is 1 point before that.
The domain.
Yes. Find
The domain.
domain and range. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So before solving, because if there is any condition, we need to solve. Okay. Because the domain of the first one must be the range of the second. The range of this first one must be the domain of the first one, the second one. So because this one is polynomial function, so the domain is R and also the range would be R. And this one also is the polynomial function because there is no X written down. So the domain is R and the range is R. So there is no exception for this one. But look to number 12. Number 12, what is the domain for this one? What is the domain? Sorry?
R.
R except negative 10?
No, R, because
R.
it's a polynomial function, x to the power 2. What is the range?
Cannot be 10.
No.
Oh, sorry, no.
No. What is the graph for this one? If you can't find it, the range, you can find it from the graph.
Yeah.
Range, you can find them from the graph.
Value less than 10.
What is the graph for this one?
10 units of parabolic.
10 units up. So what is the domain? Just graph and then find the, sorry, what is the range?
Values more than 10.
Yes, from 10 and going up. You understand it? That's when when I'm fighting with everyone to understand the concept. Just from the concept, you can find it. So the range now would be y is greater than or equals 10. You understand it?
Yeah.
What is the domain for the second one? Domain of the second one.
Okay, yeah, the values must be more than, sorry,
X?
less than 10.
No.
Must not be.
More than or equals 10.
Equal to.
Yeah.
I need positive value, more than or equal to 10. What is the range for the second one? To graph the range, to know the range, you have to graph it. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what is the graph for this one?
10 units. No.
Sorry?
So it's
It's the same one. Yeah,
It's a square root function.
10 to the right.
10
So it
units
starts
to the
10
right. Look at the graph for the first one and the graph for the second one. The graph of the first one is a parabola. Both sides. You have both sides. One at the right of the y-axis and one at the left. But look at this one. You have only one side. So because of that, I write here an exception. Look at this one. I will use only the values. The domain. Use only the values which is x is greater than or equal 0. It means the graph only will be at the right side of the x-axis. You understand this one?
Yeah.
You understand it or not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That means domain is already given in the question.
Sorry?
Domain is already given in the question.
The domain, yes. Yes. So the domain for the first one here, what is the domain for the first one? The domain is x is greater than or equals 10. And the range, what is the range? We're just looking to the graph. We look at y, the graph starting from this point and going up. So the range now will be y is greater than or equal 0. Look at the range for the first one and the domain of the second. They are the same or not the same? Before solving, before finding it, that's inverse or not? They are the same or not? Yeah, Shabab, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, they're same.
They are the same. So we can find, so we can say continue now. Now we can continue. We said they are inverse or not. But if I remove this one, if I remove it, they are not inverse. If I remove it, they are not inverse. The only way that by removing this one to say that's inverse, I have to put here positive or negative to make the graph above the x-axis and below the x-axis. You understand now the difference between them?
No, sir, I didn't understand the positive negative thing.
Again for this one. If I need to find the inverse for the function, how can I find it? Without this condition. Remove this condition. Now we have a function x to the power 2 plus 10. And that's y. How we can find this one? We just say x equals y to the power 2 plus 10. So y power 2 equals x minus 10. So y equals the square root or positive or negative?
Positive or negative?
Yes. So if you remove this condition, you have to put positive or negative.
Okay.
You understand it? Because you put only more than 0, so I need only the positive part. So I have to write
positive. Yeah.
Positive. If I remove this one, I make it less than, smaller than or equal. So this one must be negative. So again, look at the domain and range. Look at the domain and range. The domain of the first one must be the range of the second. The range of the first one must be the domain of the second one. You understand that difference now, the concept? The concept is important for this one. Alas, you understand it? Any problem for this one? Any problem? Okay. All right. See you inshallah tomorrow because we finish and I have another session now. Alas? So if there's any problem, just send me. Okay. Assalamu alaikum.